Assalamu alaikum students. In the last video we have discussed the basic concept within the geometry, which was related to when a transversal intersects a pair of parallel lines. Three categories of angles are formed. Firstly, the corresponding angles, secondly the alternate angles, and thirdly the supplementary interior angles. So in the last lesson we have discussed those concepts. Now we are going to implement those concepts in these upcoming lessons. So firstly, we are discussing type 1 questions in which we are basically given a pair of parallel lines which is being intersected by a transversal. So here you can see that we are given a pair of parallel lines which is AB and CD, and it is being intersected by a transversal PQ. And while the transversal PQ intersects the pair of parallel lines, various angles are formed. Two of the angles are 2D and 7C, and one of the angles is 140. So now we are going to solve the unknown angles using the various properties of angles which we have already discussed in the previous lesson. So firstly, we are going to calculate the angle 7C. Here we can see that here angles 7C and 140 are corresponding angles. So because they are formed at the relatively same positions, so they are corresponding angles. And we have already learned that the angles which are formed at the same corresponding positions are called corresponding angles, and they are always equal. So firstly, we will initiate with the parallel lines. We will identify which lines are parallel to each other. Here we can see that line AB is parallel to line CD basically. So and now we will identify the transversal. So here the line transversal is PQ. So although it seems to be not necessary while we are solving these questions, but in the upcoming lessons these questions are going to be complicated more and more. So it is very much you can say a standard procedure to firstly identify which lines you are going to be parallel and which lines you are taking as a transversal, so that you can, when you're comparing the angles, you're comparing the exact angles that are being formed by the transversal. Because in the upcoming lessons there would be more than two pair of parallel lines, and there would be more than 2 to 3 transversals. So in that case it would be become very complicated for the student and as the teacher to solve these questions in abstract form. So it is very much recommended that firstly identify the pair of parallel lines that are parallel to each other, and secondly identify the transversal. So here the transversal is PQ. So as the transversal PQ intersects the pair of parallel lines, two corresponding angles are formed. Firstly is 7C, and 7C is equals to 140, and we know that this is the property of corresponding angles. So we will mention here these are the corresponding angles. So here we can see that 7 is being multiplied by 3. So in the next step 7 is going to be divided, 140 is going to be divided by 7. So let us divide this 140 divided by 7, so it gives me 20. So C is equals to 20. So this is one of our unknown angle that was being that has to be calculated. And in going by calculating C, I know that the relative angle was 7C. So if C is equals to 20, then 7C is equals to 140. Okay, now let us again take the, now we are going to calculate the angle 2D. So for calculating the 2D, you have to remember another concept of geometry, that whenever two straight lines intersect each other, they form a pair of vertically opposite angles which are always equal to each other. So here we can see that line AB and PQ are straight lines which are intersecting each other at this point. So let us say we name this point as O. So they are intersecting at point O. So I can say that line AB, straight line, intersects line PQ at O. So whenever two straight lines intersect each other, a pair of vertically opposite angles are formed. So here I can see that 2D and 7C are being formed, which are always equals to each other. So I would write it as 2D is equals to 7C. So they are basically vertically opposite angles. These are vertically opposite angles. So in the next step, you can see that as we are provided with the value of C in the previous step, so I would put this value here. So 7 times 20, it gives me 2D equals to 140 degrees. Okay. Now 2 is being multiplied by D. In the next step, 2 is being multiplied by 140. To that 140 divided by 2. So I can say that the angle D is equals to 70. So this is the unknown variable which was being asked to calculate it, and this implies that if D is equals to 70 degree, then the angle was 2D. So sometimes we are asked to calculate the value of the variable, or sometimes we are asked to calculate the unknown angle. So the value of the unknown variable is 70 and the value of the unknown angle, which is 2D. So 2D is equals to 140. So this is the basically two of the values that were being asked in this question. Now students, let us initiate with the second question. Here in this question, we are again provided with the pair of parallel lines where AB is parallel to CD, and a transversal intersects this pair of parallel lines at PQ and intersects the pair of parallel lines at point X and X point Y respectively. So firstly, we can see that 4B minus 10 and 2B minus 2, which are two of the angles that are being formed by the intersection of this transversal, these angles cannot be equated by any of the given property which I have learned. So I have to do something different here. Here what I am going to do is, firstly I know that PQ and CD are two straight lines which are intersecting each other. So in this case, the vertically opposite angles would be equal. So here angle QYD and angle CYP, these are basically vertically opposite angles and these are going to be equal. So firstly, here I would mention that line CD intersects line PQ at Y. So when two straight lines intersect each other, a pair of vertically opposite angles are formed. So here C angle CYP and angle QYD are formed, and these are equals by the property of vertically opposite angles. So I will mention the property. So these two angles are equal by the property of vertically opposite angles. So here one of the angles are given, which is QYD. So I can say that CYP is equals to the angle 2B minus 2, because QYD equals to 2B minus 2. So here angle CYD is 2B minus 2 degrees. So as I have calculated one of the unknown angles, I will write it here as, so I will write it as 2B minus 2 degrees. So I have mentioned this angle which I have calculated so that I can solve the remaining unknown angles with much more clarity. Secondly is, here we can see that line AB and CD are parallel to each other, and here's a transversal which is PQ. So when a pair of parallel lines is being intersected by a transversal, two of the angles are formed in between these parallel lines. Firstly is 4B minus 10 and secondly is 2B minus 2. So we have learnt earlier that when a pair of parallel lines are being formed in between the parallel lines, these are basically supplementary interior angles. So 4B minus 10 plus 2B minus 2 equals to 180. So these are basically supplementary interior angles. So firstly I will mention the parallel lines which are parallel to each other. So here AB is parallel to CD, and here is a transversal which is PQ. So two lines are parallel to each other and there is a transversal, so two of the angles are formed in between these parallel lines. So the parallel lines that are being formed between these two parallel lines is angle AXY, angle AXY, plus the second angle is CYP, angle CYP, and their sum is basically 180 degree, and their sum is equals to 180 degree by the property which is supplementary interior angles. So I mentioned the property supplementary interior angles. So as these two angles are equal to 180 degree, one of the angle is known, which is CYP. So CYP is basically 2b minus 2, and AXY we know that it is equals to 4b minus 10. So I am putting the values of both of these angles. So one of the angle is 4b minus 10 degrees plus, and CYP is basically, we have calculated its value 2b minus 2. So 2b minus 2 degrees equals to 180 degrees. So here I will be basically, firstly I will writing the like terms with each other. So here I am having 4b plus 2b and minus 10 minus 2 equals to 180. So 4b plus 2b gives me 6b, and minus 10 minus 2 gives me minus 12. So this is equals to 180 degrees. So 6 beings the 12 b's is being subtracted here, so it would be added at the right side of the equation. So it gives me 180 plus 12, and 6 is being multiplied with b, so that is being divided over there. So it is 192 divided by 6. So by using the calculator, 192 divided by 6 gives me 32. So b is equals to basically 32 degrees. So here I have calculated the value of the unknown variable that was being used over here in the unknown angles. So as I have calculated the unknown angle, so this implies that basically 2b minus 2 is equals to, so I will use the value of the variable b basically. So 2 times 32 minus 2 gives me 62 degrees. So one of the unknown angle is of 62 degrees, and second of the unknown angle is 4b minus 10. 4b minus 10. So I will put the value of b as 32. 4 into 32 minus 10, that gives me a value of 118. So here I'm having a value of 118 degree. So I'm basically calculating the value of the unknown variable along with the unknown angles, because in some of the questions in the cabinet you are asked to find the value of the unknown variable, and in some of the questions you are asked to calculate the value of the unknown angle. So these both you should be familiar with both the category of questions. So I have calculated both of these. I have calculated the value of the unknown variable, and at the same time I am calculating the value of the unknown angles. So this was all with today's lesson, and in the second lesson or upcoming lessons we will be meeting with some different category of questions, and by step by step we would be moving towards the Cambridge past papers examinations, and we will be solving those type of questions as well. So thank you very much beta, and Allah Hafiz.